So get this, a government-funded study about puberty blockers for transgender teens went unpublished.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to talk about this puberty blocker scandal where this doctor, Olson, here in Los Angeles, and I know exactly who she is, she did not release the findings of the puberty blocker study. But before we get into that, thanks for liking and thanks for subscribing to this channel. It's really growing and I do appreciate it so much. Honestly, I can't do it. I say it every time because I do appreciate you very much. This is a little bit more serious one because it's just unbelievable. But we all knew this, right? We just knew it. And the fact that the doctor who got funding from the United States government to fund this study, I think in 2015, and then did not release the findings because she didn't like the outcome, basically is what she's saying. But she's actually trying to say that she didn't release it because she didn't want to weaponize the findings. No, I think pretty much you didn't like the outcome of the study, so you weren't going to release it. It's funny, but it's not funny. So I found this great video from one of the shows that I watch called The Hill, and I'm gonna react to this video because it's gonna make it a little bit easier to talk about it. So let's do that.
So get this, a government-funded study about puberty blockers for transgender teens went unpublished. Why? Because of politics. At least that's what the lead doctor of the research told the New York Times. Dr. Johanna Olson-Kennedy spearheaded the $10 million research in 2015. It was in
$10 million research, okay? I know exactly who this doctor is. Now, I want to say something that a lot of you don't know. I actually was for transitioning kids, I think about maybe 10 years ago. I thought it was a great idea. I really do. I'll always be honest about that. And I actually met this doctor, and I know all about this doctor and very much know about this hospital. I think it's the #1 hospital for children transitioning, and she has been a championing the puberty blocker thing forever. And so this doctor is really one of the leading doctors who wants to give kids puberty blockers. So I just want you to know that. And then once I really started doing my research around it, I just backed off of this and just have been disgusted by the whole thing since I started to really look into it and really realize that it's really the stupidest thing we could ever be doing to these young kids. But here we go. Listen more.
Tended to show providing trans adolescents with puberty blockers, drugs that prevent the development of breasts or a deepening voice, for instance, that would lessen depression and distress from gender dysphoria. Researchers recruited 95 trans teens from across the country, gave them these drugs, and watched what happened. Fast forward 9 years later, the results show not so good conclusions. In fact, there was no evidence whatsoever that puberty blockers improved the patient's mental health.
Wow. Really? No evidence. None whatsoever. None. 9-year study. Okay, like what's going on here, and how can you not release the findings for this? I think this doctor needs to be, first off, lose their license because they're not doing the thing they need to do, and they have a personal connection to this on some level. So they're not another wingnut doctor who just wants to use your kid for these experiments. And then when it doesn't work, the doctor's not going to be honest about the fact that it doesn't work. It is so disgusting. And I, as a transsexual, am disgusted by these people who are in this trans space, who are doing so much damage for us adults to be able to transition, okay? By doing stuff like this, no one's ever going to believe that this is something that can actually work for people like myself. And that's the damage, not only to these young kids who should never be put on this or never, ever be put in a position like this, but a doctor like this. Where is the, what happened to doctors doing good? What happened to doctors helping us? What happened to doctors? Isn't there an oath? Do no harm? What is happening? And the fact that this person got $10 million to do the study.
Dr. Olson-Kennedy, a prominent trans advocate in the medical community.
Also, that's the other thing I want to say. Trans advocate. So this person is like an activist, right? Should a doctor be an activist? No, a doctor shouldn't be an activist because then they're biased on the whole thing. They're not coming into it with an open mind. They're coming into it with, I'm going to do this. This is really important. I believe this is what can look up Dr. John Money. Okay. Oh, and when you look up Dr. John Money, you're going to see another wingnut doctor who did wingnutty things to people thinking that they're going to do all this stuff. It's like, you know how grounded I am around my transition. I did not change my sex. Never will my sex be changed. My God, how many times do I have to say it? It's ridiculous. Only an actual adult after years of mental health can even understand. You're telling children that they can change their sex and that puberty blockers are going to help them become a boy or a girl. It's insane.
Admitted to the New York Times that she withheld the results of the study because of the overall political climate. Quote, I do not want our work to be weaponized. It has to be exactly on point, clear and concise, and that takes time, end quote.
This is what I keep saying. We have become a political space, okay? This shouldn't even be talked about. This is a personal thing for adults, okay? So now trans has become political. As you see, it's literally a politicized space now. And so kids are being politicized. Trans kids are kids. Like, it's just insane what's happening to these children. So now she doesn't want to release the study because she thinks it will be weaponized and used against it. That should never even be part of the conversation.
Trans issues have been an issue on the campaign trail, with Donald Trump saying that Kamala Harris supports government-funded sex changes for inmates and illegal migrants.
She does.
The online community, including none other than Elon Musk, very riled up. The tech tycoon posted, Olson-Kennedy is evil. Author J.K. Rowling of the Harry Potter franchise, who's been quite critical of the transgender movement, posted, quote, we must not publish a study that says we're harming children because people who say we're harming children will use the study as evidence that we're harming children, which might make it difficult for us to continue harming children.
Wow. I mean, come on. It's so, I mean, she just said the best thing, J.K. Rowling. It's like, we're not going to release it because we don't want you to know this is actually harming children. Because why are we doing it? So why do you think, after finding out that a study of giving puberty blockers, which we all knew it, I don't care, you don't need any medical advice to know that. You can probably just kind of eventually start figuring it out. Why would you block puberty? Okay, the only reason I thought maybe it was a good idea because, you know, I just thought maybe kids aren't going to struggle. Then as I got a little bit more grounded around it, I was like, but kids have to struggle. And you can't tell a kid that they can change their sex when that's actually impossible to do. So, you know, once you ground yourself around it, you just think, why would you do that to a child? So it's so true what JK just said. So we don't want to release a study because we don't want people to weaponize it. And we don't want people to know that you're going to hurt kids, because why would we want people to know you're going to hurt kids? And then we couldn't continue to do this experiment, because it's an experiment that doesn't work. And an experiment that was funded by the United States government with $10 million, which is a lot of money, that came out the other side that Dr. Olson wasn't happy to hear. And now Dr. Olson is not sharing the actual study results. I mean, I'm gonna leave you with this. What do you think? Do you think this doctor should lose their license? Because I do. Do you think that this study should be shut down now? Do you think, oh, there's one thing I want to say here right before I let you go, because there's this very important part of this. They're in really good shape when they came in, and they're in really good shape after 2 years, said Dr. Olson, which runs the country's largest youth gender clinic at the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. That conclusion seemed to contradict an earlier description of the group in which Dr. Olson-Kennedy and her colleagues noted that 1/4 of the adolescents were depressed or before treatment. Remember, the reason I want to read that to you is, remember what the trope they keep saying? Remember? Do you want a dead daughter or a live son? Okay, they keep using that. Yet now Dr. Olson is saying, well, they came in with great feelings and they left with, so she's full on contradicting herself, and that whole they'll off themselves if you don't give it to them doesn't apply now. It literally doesn't apply, because she's saying they came in with great well-being. So then they left. So this whole thing is a mess, and it doesn't make any sense at all. And it was a 9-year study. That's a long study. It says in the 9 years since the study was funded by the National Institute of Health, and as medical care for this small group of adolescents became a searing issue in American politics, Dr. Olson-Kennedy's team has not published the data. Asked why, she said the findings might fuel the kind of political attacks that have led to bans of youth gender treatments in more than 20 states. So really, she's biased, and she just has she doesn't care. She doesn't care about those kids, because if she actually cared about those kids, she would have released the study and found out that doing this to children is not a good thing. Thanks so much for watching. I really, really appreciate you guys so much. This is just the whole house of cards is falling. The whole house of cards of gender affirming care is falling. But we cannot forget, there's a lot of young people who will be damaged by this. And it's so sad to me that it's come to this. Thanks again. Have a beautiful, awesome day. And thanks for subscribing and liking and getting this out there to somebody who might need to see it. Have a beautiful day.